Today is the 26th of October. It is Red Dead 2 Day. Today. I haven't played it yet, I haven't touched it, but when I click my fingers, I would have played it. As I say, it's Friday evening, so maybe I'll do a review Saturday night, tomorrow night, just to get my first impressions, see what I think of the start of the game. Won't contain any spoilers, so you're okay. So, here we go. Gonna play Red Dead. Okay, it is now Sunday morning. I said I was going to do something Saturday night, but no, it's Sunday morning. I was so ruined. Like, my eyes were so sore. What I've come to realise is, and I will get into the review of the game and my impressions of it very soon, but what I've come to realise is that I'm not 20 anymore. I'm now 33, and playing games for a long period of time is very, very difficult for me. But yes, anyway, when I woke up this morning, my left eye was closed together. It was all crusted over of all the gunk because I kept on rubbing my eyes so much. And this is also the weekend that the clocks went back, so that worked out for me. So it's currently 12:30 Sunday afternoon, technically, and I've had a bit of a morning off just to sort of get my eyes back, but I will be back on it soon. I'm roughly about 16 to 18 hours in, and here's what I think. Oh my god, this game is fantastic. Now, I know I am a bit of a Rockstar fanboy, so yeah, fair enough. And I do expect a bit of backlash. I do expect people to sort of come back and say, yeah, well, it's not as good as I thought, or God, it's slow, or whatever. But I think this is just one of the most confident Rockstar games I've ever seen. You know, it really, really takes its time at the start. It's a real slow burn as well, and I expected that, to be honest, because Red Dead 1 was quite slow at the start. Just to let you know that this is going to be a spoiler-free impressions of the first sort of 16 hours of it, so I'm not going to go into massive detail about the characters and what sort of goes on, but it just, first of all, it just looks like a fantastic video. It's just one of the most best looking Rockstar game I've seen, and it's probably the most confident Rockstar game I've ever seen. You can see lots of their influences from different games. I think it was GTA 4 where they went for this realism approach where, Roman kept on ringing you up for bowling and this social interaction. And I feel like they went away from that in GTA 5. They sort of just kept it to the fun of it. But it feels like they've doubled down on the realism on this game. It takes a long time to skin an animal. It's not just like a little cutscene anymore. It's like this really detailed way of skinning it. When you pick up things, I won't go into too much spoiler detail, but just even picking up items in a house, it's all super detailed. Every interaction has an animation for it. Every sort of the way he picks up something. And I know these are minor details, but it really creates this big, believable world. And that's what they've gone for. They've doubled down on it all. When you clean a gun, you have to look at it and flip it over. When you look at a map, you look at the actual map, you flip it round, and you can flip it and you might see something on the back and then there's nothing. So they've really made a place for everything. When you put your gun away, you actually it doesn't just gesture it towards the horse and it disappears. He stuffs it in there and he puts it in, and it really makes everything just feel real and realised. So I love that about it. And there's bits of LA Noire in it as well. LA Noire used to pick things up and spin it around. They've done away with that kind of stuff now. It's kind of like they learnt the lesson on that. But it's still, when I was picking things up in the game, I was like, oh my god, this is LA Noire all over again. There's a bit of Max Payne in it with the cameras. With the camera, when you shoot somebody, it does that sort of Fallout 3 Max Payne thing, and you can carry on shooting like you can in Max Payne and Fallout 3. And they're taking their time. They really like to take their time with the story, and sometimes it's good times as well. It's not all sort of doom and gloom. You're really spending some really nice moments with these characters. And I'm not really somebody that sort of likes downtime in games too much, because I feel like it slows the game a lot. But because you can get up at the camp and have a coffee and talk to some characters, and even when you're just walking past them and you greet them, they've got dialogue lines that are just about what just happened, and it's not a full cutscene, so it's so detailed. There must be so many lines of dialogue in the game. The missions themselves have been pretty standard Rockstar stuff. You know what I mean? It's the missions are what they are. They're quite exciting, and there's some train robberies and things like that. they're quite exciting. They're interesting. The setting's really cool. You do feel like a cowboy. And again, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but they're cool missions, but they're rockstar stuff. You know what I mean? You ride your horse, you get people, you kill people, you find stuff. You chase people. It's normal stuff, but it's just the surrounding of it, the environment of it is so well done. The characters themselves are really, really interesting. I actually probably more engaged with the characters in Red Dead Redemption 2 than I am in 1, and I've actually gone back and looked at like what did this character look like in 1, and what this, and it's been really interesting and to sort of see the origin of some of the characters. And even like I even sort of wander around and take the sights in more, and I don't really like doing that, but I never really did it in GTA 5, just walk around and looked at stuff, but I definitely do in this, especially in first person mode. I think the biggest change, the biggest difference with this game to any other Rockstar game and any other game ever is the way they interact with anybody, right? So you press the left trigger to sort of lock onto someone, and that's how you interact. And you can greet them nice. You can be nice about it. You can antagonize them. You can threaten them. You can beat them. And this really sort of becomes probably, I mean, it's the first thing they teach you in the game. It's the first thing that you do is learn how to interact, because you're constantly doing it throughout the whole game, and it really does change the way you feel in the game. Because usually in Red Dead or GTA, especially GTA 4 and 5, if you stand too close to a police officer, they're going to get agitated and they're going to shoot you. That still happens in this game, by the way, but you can greet them. Or if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I didn't appreciate that bar fight that you had the other day, you can diffuse it and say, look, settle down, I won't do it again. So it really changes how you talk to the world, right? Because usually in a Rockstar game, it's you against everybody else, right? And there is elements of that. There's definitely elements of that, but you can sort of diffuse things and you can greet people and be nice to people. I always respected Red Dead Redemption 1 because John Marston, wasn't really into hookers and he had a wife and things like that. Whereas previous Rockstar games, you could do anything, and a prostitute would approach John Marston and he'd be like, no, not interested. And it's little touches like that kind of make you feel like, okay, so I can sort of role play in this game. It's probably the most role play-y, if that's a word. I don't know if it's a word. It might be a word. Role play-y Rockstar game out there. And it's beautiful, and I'm as I say, I'm 16 hours in, roughly, and yeah, there's still a lot to go. What has surprised me a lot was the amount of Zelda that's creeped into it, and obviously this game has been in development for a long time, right? You know what I mean? It's not like Zelda came out, the Breath of the Wild, and they went, we need to change everything. They couldn't do that, but it is interesting how much I compared it to Zelda Breath of the Wild. I mean, I have been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild quite late to the party. I've been playing it this year. But, the fact that like you have to wear hot and warm and cool clothes, right? You have to, make sure that you can cook things and you get more stuff if you cook stuff, and there's recipes and okay, they're not all original to Zelda Breath of the Wild, but the fact that like the environment has an impact on you and your health was very, very Zelda-like. But I feel like Zelda was a little bit laborious. It was a little bit like, didn't really tell you why you was getting struck by lightning. You kind of had to work it out yourself, which is a really cool way of learning, is by death. Red Dead Redemption 2 doesn't do that so much. It kind of tells you and helps you a little bit more. But all the things that are in there that I loved about Red Dead 1, the treasure maps, great story, great characters, great setting. I'm absolutely buzzing about the game. I love it so much. It's going to be really interesting to see what the online is going to be like. But yeah, I've still got a long way to go, and I absolutely adore the game. You could see possible flaws, possible sort of, for me to be fair, I am a Rockstar fanboy, but for me to be fair and say if there's any criticism I've got for the game, once it does open out, and it takes about 3 hours for the game to sort of really let you loose, I don't think there's been many Rockstar games where it felt so linear at the start. When it does open out, the game seems to slow down a lot, and I can see a lot of people falling down. So for the people that are used to Rockstar games just being open world, fun, madness stuff, they're going to get a shock, you know. They're going to be like, oh my God, this is like a linear game. And when it does open out, you do feel a little bit lost of where to go. There is a lot of riding your horse in this game. Go figure, you know. But like, one thing they've done is a cinematic mode, and I've been addicted to this cinematic mode. It basically means you can just lie back and eat some, you know, food and just watch the story unfold. And you can even do the cinematic mode while walking around, which is a nice touch. You know, but then you could argue, well, then you're not playing the game. You know, what's the use in that? You know. But anyway, I've rambled on for long enough. I think the game's amazing. Obviously, no shit. But you know, I've still got a lot more to do. I think the next thing that I'm going to do is a spoiler cast, but that's going to be when I finish the game, which might be, I don't know, another week or two yet. So, and everybody else needs to finish the game, right? So make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll post the spoiler cast on there. Also, the spoiler cast will be on the podcast, the Veteran Gamers podcast. So if you download the podcast on your podcast providing app, I don't know what that is, just whatever. We're on everything. We're on like Stitcher and Podkicker and the podcast app on iPhone, all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, we'll do one on there. But that'll be a few weeks, yeah. I think I'm just going to keep going with Red Dead and see how it goes. I'll be really interested to see what you think of Red Dead Redemption 2. Make sure you comment and all that jazz. And, you know, just tell me what you think, what you like, what you don't like. And be fair, you know. Don't just say, it's trash because of this. Because some of the detail in this game is like no other game. This is what happens when you have unlimited money, which Rockstar do. That's it from me. My first impressions. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I don't know, carry on playing the game.